Hello there, my name is Martin Pickering from Specwall Advanced Wall Systems.
Hi, my name's Alec. I'm the technical manager at Quelfire.
And we've invited Alec and his team from Quelfire down to the Specwall showroom to answer some questions on fire penetrations through our product.
Yep, and we just wanted to do this video to cover a lot of frequently asked questions. So I suppose the very first question that everyone wants to know is, what is Specwall?
So Specwall is a new to the UK market walling system directed at replacing plasterboard walls, block walls and SFS. It consists of a fibre cement board outer, two 4.5mm fibre cement boards, a lightweight mix in the middle, which is jointed together with a male and female. So it's a constructed off-site system.
So Martin, the next question would be, what are the tests that Specwall have carried out?
So massive challenges bringing a product to the UK market, stringent procedures on compliance. So we needed to do a lot of tests on acoustics, insulation and fire rating. We're quite strong on fire, giving us 2 hours on our 75mm board, 3 hours on our 100mm board and 3.5 hours on our A1 board.
Yep, and we're here as well because we're going to be talking about a bit more in detail is the collaboration testing we've done for penetrations through this wall system as well.
So following on to that, following our fire test, as we're going out to market, we find there are a lot of challenges with penetrations, and that's where we're going to need your assistance.
Yep, happy to help. So Martin, I think another good important question for the viewers would be, what sectors would benefit from using Specwall?
Yeah, so we were able to target a range of sectors, starting with health, where our advantage is with it being a solid product, that we've not got cavities that can attract pathogens growth. We also target the education, with the product being so solid. It's a very robust product, difficult to damage, easy to repair. That also extends to custody suites, where we've been specified on some. Data centres are very attractive to us at the moment because a lot of those going up. Yeah,
definitely a lot. So like you said, it's a wide variety of sectors, so that's good to know.
What we're finding, Alec, is that the M&E lads are really warming to the fact that they can bring the trays along, find a position that they want to penetrate through the wall, and it can be cut in position. How can we provide a tested solution to fire stopping that?
Yeah, no, great question. So with that sort of application, because typically you'll have an oversized hole around your tray because it's the easiest way to feed it through, we would look to use our Quelstop Fireback Pattress system that we've done a fire test to, and we've achieved the necessary results to retain that fire resistant performance.
Thank you. And does that go on to insulation as well as integrity?
Yes, so with the fire resistance test that we have to conduct, it is both a test for integrity, so that's stopping the fire from getting from one side of the wall to the other, but the main factor as well is the heat transfer, the fire resistance insulation factor. So with the detail here, if you simply had a Pattress Fireback on both sides of the wall with an annulus of HPE sealant, that's going to provide you a fire rating of E120, that's 2 hours integrity, and it will also stop the insulation rating for 60 minutes. If you do require a higher EI rating, you can reach out to our technical team and I can provide you some primary evidence to hopefully increase that insulation rating.
So Alec, how can we provide some solutions for penetrations through our wall that are taking ducting?
Well, it depends on what type of ducting we're talking about. So if we're talking about plastic ductwork is tested differently from metal ductwork. So with plastic ductwork, if the client or yourselves reach out to us at the technical team, specifically usually myself, I would be able to give you some primary test evidence of solutions that we've tested on plastic because it's tested in the same manner as plastic pipes, cables, etc. as well.
Right, and what about specific dampers and smoke vents?
Yeah, so metal ducts and dampers, they have their own specific fire resistant test standard. It's actually quite complex. So where we would advise with this, and we would advise this for any client and manufacturers, this is where it would be better to have a conversation with yourselves, the damper or duct manufacturer, and the application and the client's fire consultants, just to review all primary evidence, because dampers are a very complex subject what can and can't be do varies depending on projects as well. So that will take more of a collaboration between the damper manufacturers, yourselves, and the client, just to make sure you're all ticking all the boxes.
We've been asked about, we've got some test data with you for apertures of 600 by 600, but we've been asked about if those apertures change in size. What's the situation then?
Okay, so currently with our evidence with yourselves, it would be limited to 600 by 600. That's one size aperture behind it, and then you can pattress fix the Quelstop fire bat. Where you might have applications that might have a different size opening or that, what we would advise is the project's fire consultant reaches out to me at the Quelfire technical team. I'll be able to share them some primary test evidence of not only the Specwall stuff, maybe some alternative stuff that we've got that they can do a comparison, and they may be able to do a technical assessment, but it would need that consultation between ourselves and the fire consultant and a review of all the available test evidence for now. But if you just wanted a quick standard thing, then at the moment it would be 600 by 600.
Alec, on penetrations through the wall for fire dampers and ducting, we often get asked how close together can we have penetrations? Is there a guidance on restrictions on that?
Yeah, there is always going to be spacing restrictions. So again, when it comes to metal ducts and dampers, they have their own restrictions. Typically, I know they would advise maybe 200 mil, but it comes down to also the wall manufacturers themselves, what their tolerances are. If we're talking about the sort of services like cable trays, plastic pipes, cables, then the minimum spacing between apertures is set out in section 13.7 of the BSEN 1366 Part 3 standard. And that does say a minimum spacing of 100 mil. But what we would say at Quelfire is, although our standard says 100 mil, we would get them still to speak to yourselves to make sure you're happy that 100 mil spacing is structurally suitable for the wall. And we would say the same for any application as well with that.
So Alec, I know we've got some test data for your putty pads in our wall, which has been very successful, but we're constantly being asked about back-to-back sockets and what the situation is with those.
Okay, yeah, no, great question. I mean, currently we have done a test with socket boxes with our putty pad, but it would be what's known as offset. So you should have one socket this side of the wall, and you can have another socket on the other side of the walls, but it should be offset, so it shouldn't be back-to-back. But this actually is, especially when we're talking about fire and acoustics, this has a benefit to that. So having sockets back-to-back can have a detrimental effect on the fire resistance performance, because you have that metal going all the way through that allows that heat to transfer through. So, and especially again from acoustics performance wise, it would be much better to just have your socket boxes off slightly. But again, if that's some sort of thing that a project needs to review, get their consultant to reach out to us. We'll share them all the primary test evidence, and then they can have a review at what the application and requirements are.
Sometimes the electricians are not putting trays through walls, and it might be a direct penetration with perhaps a couple of cables like this. Yes. Is there a solution there?
Yeah, so where obviously earlier on we looked at larger openings, larger service types, and you would utilise the Quelstop fire bat as a pattress. But we do have solutions for like single cables, small cable bundles, and like metal pipes, your small copper pipes, where you can do what's known as a direct-to-wall seal. So simply around the service, you would simply use our Quelstop acrylic sealant, and then there you'd have your fire resistant seal tested as well. So we do have those options just where you have the small type services such as this one here.
Okay, and can they bunch the cables?
Yeah, provided it's within what the spec is on our drawing, they can follow that. And the way we test with our test standard, even though it will just say cable of a certain diameter, that means it covers any cable type. So it could be a data cable, a telecoms cable, provided it matches the outside diameter. So typically 21 mil or less is what we test, which is usually with these small penetrations, it's going to be a data cable or a little cable like this, and that would be covered on that.
Alec, deflection head is being brought up quite often in our conversations.
Yeah.
What's the situation with fire stopping close to the soffit?
Yeah, not a problem. So obviously you can see this cable tray is getting quite close to the top of the wall. So we do have an option where you can have the pattress fire bat in conjunction with our product called the QI Intrafoam. And if you let us know sort of the deflection. So for example, typically the deflection head of a wall may be 25 mil. So the QI Intrafoam, which is a compressible foam, would fit in a gap of 50 mil. So you have 50 mil gap between the soffit and the top of the fire bat, and that can then compress up and down to provide that 25 mil movement. And then simply the bat around the tray would incorporate the service penetration detail. So yeah, if you have services that might need to be a lot closer to the soffit due to spacing restrictions, provided you've left enough room for that deflection, which you should do, we can offer a solution.
Okay, thank you. Alec, thanks for coming in and seeing us again. It's been very educational. I think we've covered a lot of subjects that will help us out in the field.
Perfect, thank you. So I just want to say thank you for everyone watching this. Thank you, Martin and his team, for letting us come down here. We have just scratched the surface with this, so please reach out to Specwall. The contact details are going to be on the screen. Martin and his team will help you discuss the wall, the sectors, and how its uses. When it comes to the service penetration applications, they have access to our standard details. But as discussed in some of the videos, where it starts to get a little bit outside of this area, please feel free to reach out to our technical team and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you very much.
Thanks again.